So this video is going to be a bit different from the usual norm you'd expect. Of course, if you look at the title of the YouTube video, then you already know what it's going to be about. But before I get into that, let's get to my low, my high, my act of kindness. The good news is technically I'm starting today's video earlier than yesterday's video. So, yeah, that's great. It's 20 minutes earlier than yesterday. If you remember, yesterday's video started recording like 12:40. It's just 20 after 12 now, so progress. What can I say, man? Life's been busy lately. The week takes a lot out of me. So that's great. What's my high? Well, actually, you know what? My high is what I'm going to be talking about today, which was I went to a gala last night. More on that, obviously, in a moment or two. And my act of kindness was, actually, the gala was for a good cause. So, yeah, that would go into the gala as part of my act of kindness, too. Okay, so, for the last couple of years, there's been a charity gala for my first alma mater, St. Mary Our Mother, the very first place I ever graduated from. I went from St. Mary for K through 6, back when they actually had K through 6 back in the day. That's what I did. And for the last couple of years, I've been making an effort to go to church twice a week. Partly because, going to church early on Sunday morning definitely is better than, being cooped up in my apartment all day. It gets me out and about. But it feels good to do that. It does. I see a lot of people from the community that I grew up with and love. You never know what's going to happen. You never know who you're going to see when you go to church. And yes, I am one of those people that believe, I am one of those guys that really does believe that you meet a nice girl when you go to church. It hasn't happened yet, but you know what? Going to church and trying to meet a nice girl is definitely a lot more proactive than simply doing nothing. So I'll take that all day long. So every year around this time, they have a legacy charity gala where, obviously there's like silent auctions, there's live auctions. Actually, there really wasn't a live auction. It was really just pretty much all silent auctions. But, it was a big event. People got dressed up. I barely know where to start. Well, here's the thing. I said in my video on Thursday, it was a toss-up between doing one thing versus going to another, and I couldn't do both. And going to the gala was one of those two things. The other was actually the No Filter concert at the Jams Fitness. And no offense to Jams or No Filter, from what I heard, it was actually a really great show. But in fairness, I've known about this gala for years. In fact, I wanted to go the last 2 years, but I was always busy doing something else, or I was up at Cuca Lake when they had the gala. So I couldn't go. So this was the year I was finally, going to do it and finally go. And the week leading up to it, though, I was nervous about it because, it's just what I said in Thursday's video. I do run the risk of maybe my time won't be as great as if I were to go to, as it will be if I went to the No Filter concert. That's always a risk you run. And yeah, there's definitely pros and cons of going to one or the other. And I will admit in the beginning it actually was kind of nerve-wracking for me because there really wasn't, I mean, there were some people I knew, and it was great if I saw you guys. You guys know who you are. But I was definitely, like, I didn't really know where I was going to sit. I didn't really know, like, what I was going to do. Like, it was definitely a different experience. I would say the first half of last night was definitely kind of on the nerve-wracking side, but thankfully the second half was a lot better. I actually found one person I knew since first grade actually, who also went to St. Mary Mother with me, and I sat at their table. It was a lovely experience. It was. Thank you. Of course, even before purchasing my ticket, I had to realize, what am I going to wear? Like, who do I ask? Like, what's the dress code for this? Because, and literally this is what I was told. There are some, obviously women are going to dress in, nice dresses and gowns, because that's just what women would do for something like this. As for men, like, there was a veritable gambit of, like, people dressing business casual, or guys wearing, shirt, tie, maybe a suit jacket, obviously nice dress pants. So for my outfit, I went, definitely not business casual. I actually went a little bit nicer than that. I had a nice pair of black dress pants, a nice white button-down shirt, a nice purple and silver tie that felt really evocative of spring. Which, fun fact, actually, hold on. This is actually the tie I wore last night. And a fun fact, I can get a better look at this tie. Yeah, fun fact about this tie, the very first time I ever wore this tie was for my nephew's baptism, way back in 2022. So I've had this tie for a good 4 years. And it's serving well, and it is really evocative of springtime. I like this tie, I do. I was actually going to wear like an all black tie, but I like this a little bit better. Purple, silver, white, blue, I like this. This is a nice, I forgot how cool colors look. Oh, I'm wearing cool colors right now, blue obviously. But I forgot how nice they look on me. Like, my head tells me to like wear a lot of warm colors like red and such, but cool colors are just as nice on me too. Yes, I am a little bit self-conscious about self-conscious about what I wear. Excuse me, let me put this tie away. So I figured out my outfit, and then I headed on over to the Gala, which took place at the Elmira Country Club, which is a place where, because I read about the Elmira Country Club a lot, and I know a thing or two about country clubs. My parents have been members at the Corning Country Club my entire life, so yeah, I know how a country club works. But in my entire life, I've only been to the Elmira Country Club twice in all my life. Last night, and way back in 2007 for my junior prom. Well over, 19 years ago. That's crazy. And in fact, where the gala was being held was in the exact same room where I had my junior prom. And it was just kind of funny to me how the room seemed both smaller and bigger then and now. I mean, it seemed a lot bigger then because when I had my junior prom, obviously the entire place was packed with a bunch of us because, it's a junior prom with, hundreds and hundreds of students and, a couple dozen faculty members. Um, but last night, like, everything seemed a lot more spacious. And so that seemed big. Someone's burning rubber out there. It just seemed, it's a different experience, is what I'm trying to get at. But it was nice. You know, I mean, I mentioned this in my video last year when I went to my adult prom. When I went to the adult prom at Abandoned Brewing Company, which I do plan on going to again this year. Shout out to Abandoned Brewing Company. My junior prom, well, definitely better than my senior prom by far. Like, I don't know, there was always a bit of, I mean, I like to say I used up probably all the luck I'll ever have in life, because not only did I get a date, but my date just so happened to be this senior prom queen who was announced as senior prom queen in March of earlier that year. So, yeah, again, probably used up all the luck I'll ever have in my entire life for that. So I guess it wasn't a bad experience, but you know, I felt like even that could have been better. So I guess it did sort of give me a little bit of trepidation being in a place where, you know, I had those memories, but it wasn't nearly as like bad as that last night, not by a long shot. I mean, I mentioned earlier I was nervous, but that's because there really wasn't that many people I knew. I mean, I knew the priest who was there, and I did know some people I see when I go to church at St. Mary Mother a lot, but I never really, you know, get to talk to them. Like, for reference, I actually sit like near the very front, and the vast majority of people I see, I have to like look around behind me because no one wants to sit near the front anymore. Okay, well, I shouldn't say I sit in the front. I actually sit like the second row from the front. Like, there's the actual altar, the first row of pews, which are usually supposed to be for you know, elderly or handicapped people. And then there's the second row where I sit in. I'm in, like, if you were to walk into St. Mary Mother Church, that is, from the perspective of the parking lot that faces the main road, you go in and you see like the middle aisle, and I sit pretty much in the left middle, because your point of view would be your left, but if you're standing in front of the altar, it'd be to your right, if that makes sense. That's where I sit. And most everybody I see or know is like a bunch of like pews behind me. There are some people who sit in like the pews behind me and such like that. And there's a couple people that sit like in my row per se. But again, it's all kind of like spaced out. Like, a good crowd for St. Mary Mother is like a lot of the pews are filled, but they're all like in the back. I just find it funny that way. But last night really was a wonderful experience. I mean, again, the what they had for auction, there was some art projects that students at St. Mary Mother made that were up for auction. There was a few goodies that were up for auction. You know, like bottles of wine or cleaning supplies, or actually a couple things I tried to put a wager on, not wager or put up for auction. Something I tried to you know, auction was or try to get was a thing for the Corning Country Club, where it was like a bottle of wine and a golf outing for 4 people. I mean, it made sense because, you know, again, my parents were members of the Corning Country Club forever, and I do have members in my family who golf, so, you know, it had to be a win-win. I didn't win that. I also tried to win like a something like a goodie basket from Wine Glass Marathon of last year, where I had like a couple tumblers in, a couple small bottles of wine. I didn't win that either. Yeah, I placed like low bids for me, and then it wasn't long until someone outbid me. But you know what? I had to at least try. And again, it's all for a good cause. You know, it's to benefit, St. Mary Mother, the students, the faculty, the church itself, the school. I mean, honestly, the fact it helps out so many people alone is worth going to. And the food was good. They had hors d'oeuvres, had like a meat tray, cheese, crackers, olives, little kosher little gherkin pickles, a little balsamic tomato salad, carrots, celery, zucchini, and like for actual dinner they have like house-made chips with 2 different kinds of dip, a beer cheese dip and a French onion dip. They had potato salad, coleslaw, grilled chicken, pulled pork with barbecue sauce, fixings to put rolls to make pulled pork sandwiches, and stuff to put on your pulled pork sandwiches. Cheese, slices of cheese, onions, tomatoes, lettuce. Some people could actually grilled chicken, make a sandwich out of that if they wanted to. Some people did that. Shout out to the Meyer Country Club. The food you guys made was really good. So overall, I am very much satisfied that I finally went to this event. It took a couple of years to finally get myself to it, but I did. Yeah, there's a few things I would do differently, to be sure. But for the most part, when we get to December 31st of this year, this is something I'll have put on my bucket list. I'm like, yeah, I did that. And I'm absolutely glad I did, because it's doing stuff like this. Like, not just going out and seeing people, but again, it's for a good cause too. That alone makes it worthwhile. And by the time we get to the end of the year, I'll look back on last night and I'll say, you know what? It made 2026 all the better. So, to the people at St. Mary Mother, thanks for putting on this event. It was a great job. It was a great time. Had a lot of fun. Saw some people I haven't seen in many years. To the Elmira Country Club, thank you for allowing St. Mary Mother to put on the venue. You guys are great. Maybe if there's another event I could potentially go to at Elmira Country Club in the future, I'll definitely try and go to that. Yeah, last night was a wonderful experience, and I'm glad I did it. I hope you liked this video. If you like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow on social media. As always, I'm here to help make this video for all you guys who are watching. Enjoy everything. Hopefully you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Saturday. Happy Saturday, everyone. I forgot to say that. And remember, if you guys want to talk, James, we're here to lend you always back. Take care and make good choices. 607 all day, baby.